All right, cyber traders, good morning and welcome on back and happy new year to everybody here live. Great to see all of us here live inside the cyber group trading room. And of course, if you're joining us back on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back, folks. Great to see Michael, Grant, Rob, Ray, Phil, Gary, Lawrence. Welcome back, Lawrence, one of our longtime members here. Deborah W, Doyle here as well. Great to see everybody. And again, if you're joining us on social media, welcome on back. So, new year, new me, right? Isn't that the case with everybody? New Year's resolutions, new year, new me? Not exactly the case, right? I know that we all have our New Year's resolutions, but it's the same strategy that we've been using that we will continue to use here across this calendar year. And it's been working out pretty well so far, at least this morning on this IMMX trade. Actually, at first, it was a bit of a dump off, and we'll talk about this trade to begin. But now it's starting to pick up some momentum. So this stock ended up making a nice pop shortly after 8 a.m. We ended up seeing news come out on the stock. I'm actually going to pull it up right now for you folks. All right, so IMMX shares trading higher after the company announced FDA granted rare pediatric disease designation for their drug for the treatment of a life-threatening form of pediatric cancer in children. All right, well, it sounds like an incredible headline. God bless, right? Ended up leading to a big pop, ended up topping off at first at 650, but pulled back down. It was a nasty shake. I was anticipating initially for this 580 level to act as support. We had a lot of buying off the initial pop here, so I was looking for this 580 level to hold beautifully as support. It broke under and back above it on the same bar, and then it rebroke it and tanked. So, right place, wrong time. Look what's happening now, though. So it took a while, and yes, it ended up bottoming out right around $5, if anything. Ended up beginning to hold a higher low from 525 here, pushed up beautifully, and right now we're getting that second wind type of move back over the 580 level. So much so, I ended up writing this in the chat board just a bit earlier, folks, and I even phrased it right away by saying I could easily be wrong on this exactly, but we were watching this IMMX trade have a fight at that 580 level right before we started the meeting, actually about 10 minutes prior. And I told you folks, I said, hey, I could be wrong on this, but I think after 9 a.m. Eastern time, we will see the IMMX make the bigger pop off the 580 level. And then nonetheless, here we are now. So I hope that you folks were able to jump in right from the 580, if not earlier, perhaps off of 525. And for right now, the way this stock looks, it's incredible. So no better way to start the new year off than the nice runner on IMMX. All right. I should have started off this whole meeting for all of us in social media, at least. Of course, you could tell across the first 3 to 5 minutes, this is not the voice of one Fausto Pugliese. My name is Josh Levitan. I'm Fausto's senior instructor at Cyber Trading University. I know that Fausto had mentioned just back on Friday that he would be out for this week. He's in Florida. He's actually shooting a commercial for CTU and a couple of other business-related things going on down there. So he'll be back. And for all of us here live inside the Cyber Group room, little housekeeping note, and we talked about this last week as well. This week we have the Phase 3 stock course. I believe that will be taking place Wednesday and Thursday this week. No Fausto. You got me for Phase 3, folks. So for Tony, for Grant, for Mark, for all of us here that are part of the Phase 3 stock course, at least you're going to see me trade live on Wednesday and Thursday. All right, so what we'll do just to kind of make things simple, because truth be told, rolling into the new year, I forgot what I had for breakfast this morning, let alone the stocks we traded back on Friday. So we'll go right from top to bottom. We'll go across the gainers and losers lists here and see what else we could add to our watch list alongside the IMMX trade. Oh, how about this? One of us in social media on YouTube, they got in on the IMMX they just posted earlier. They jumped in at 527. Nice entry. Cool. And Mark's in Cyber Group right now from 517. He has a really good entry on that IMMX trade. Congrats, Mark. And funny name on YouTube, Sleepy Fishing Bear. I like that name there. I'll pop that up on the YouTube stream. All right, so let's keep it going, folks. Let's see what else we got here going into this morning. Otherwise, aside from the IMMX, pretty much every other stock on the pre-market list, mind you, pretty much looked like this. CELZ not doing a whole lot right now. Ended up making a nice pop from the early pre-market this morning. It's still very active in the sense of volume traded across the pre-market session. It has liquid order book and all of the good stuff that we would want to trade. So I, of course, will put this on our list. Hopefully this shows a lot more signs of life prior to 9:30 coming up here. stock's trending down. So when you talk about a stock trending down leading into the open, that's typically driven by selling. So if history repeats itself, this is only going to continue to dump off. So we want to make sure that we see some signs of life prior to the market opening up here. All right, let's keep it going. AFI, very similar, right? Another stock. This was actually from Friday afternoon that ended up leading to a nice after hours pop. Uh, what was the news on this one at least? AFI, the company says it's received $35 million capital infusion. I don't know what that means. Announces process for sale of the company in consideration of other strategic alternatives. I'm sure there's a lot more to it aside from that fairly generic headline. But hey, for right now, very similar to the CELZ trade, just a lot of activity throughout the pre-market. This one seems like it's trying to show some signs of life. After 8:45 Eastern time, bit of a pop, some buying came in roughly off of 270. It needs to break back over that 270 trade here, folks. But alongside the others, I'll put the AFI on our list here still. All right, so we keep it going, we keep it moving. BLCT, another one, right? Just slow mover here. This one trying to eke up, bounce from 180 up to 190. Major resistance you would assume to be off of 2. And otherwise, same line of thinking. We ended up trading this one back on Friday as well, like the AFI, but ended up leading to a nice pop. Topped off back Friday, like right around 170 at the time, 165. Yeah, right here. So you want to make sure it can hold above that price at least, but nonetheless, the BLCT we'll put on our list as well. All right, not a bad list so far. The IMMX definitely the most interesting of the bunch. We're not going to trade Tesla, folks. Just wanted to show it here pretty quickly. At least I posted the news for anyone that has any calls on it, nonetheless. But big move for Tesla this morning, up over 7.5%. They're trading higher after they ended up reporting better than expected vehicle production and deliveries in the fourth quarter. So just wanted to give you the insight at least on Tesla. We're not going to trade a $1,100 stock though. PTPI, little push up. I know one of us had called this out earlier, and it was trying to go up. It's up over 7% right now, and trading over 500,000 shares. So it would be hard for us to not put this on our list. And then also on the same side of that, at least we are pretty familiar with this PTPI. Back over the last really month or so in full, back throughout December, we were trading this stock on and off. So, I'm sure on a day or two it was uneventful. I'm sure on a day or two it was pretty nasty, but nonetheless, at least we know this stock is pretty liquid and it's cheap. It's one that we're familiar with at least. So, again, I'll put this on our list for right now. I'll tell you what, with Tesla popping, I should have mentioned this just before. We did call out a pop on NIO, which is another EV company, Chinese EV company. And I don't know if it's directly related to Tesla, if it's like a sympathy play for that matter. Let's see. Oh, no, it's news of their own, actually. Very similar news, to be honest. So NIO shares trading higher after the company announced December vehicle deliveries increased 50% from the previous year. So same line of thinking as Tesla, but this one much more within our price range. Definitely going to put the NIO on our watch list. We'll check out some of the other EV stocks like Nikola, which, not really a great trade really right now. XPEV gapped up in pre-market, a little expensive, lower highs it's building. So we don't need to put every EV stock on our list here, folks. Solo. I'm sure I'm missing one or two. But nonetheless, the NIO trade looks really good, at least. NIO. All right, let's see if there's anything else that we could add to our list here. Otherwise, just to be transparent, looking at the volume throughout a lot of these stocks in pre-market, kind of light. One of us calling out GNPX, which actually rings a bell right away to me. I'll look at that pretty quickly, then we'll jump over to the losers list, see if there's anything looking just as good, if not better. Yeah, GNPX. Wow, did I skip over this? Or just not pop up on my scanner here? Popped up on my custom scan here, but the main gainers list, I don't know why it's not showing. Perhaps a glitch on the TradeStation gainers side there. So yeah, I appreciate that for one of us on YouTube again. Sleepy Fishing Bear, I like that name. Stick with that name. But nonetheless, this is a great stock. Definitely going to put this on our list. And this stock rings a bell to myself. It should ring a bell to a few of us, at least back, if you were in the trading room back in March of 2020. or January actually. This was the first stock back in January of 2020 that popped off of some sort of potential COVID vaccine news. This was the first one. After this, there was CODX. There was obviously the more expensive ones that ended up taking off, but this was number one. I remember that like the back of my hand. So, things like that, you'll always seem to kind of remember, at least, global pandemic, all those stocks we ended up trading. This was the first. So right now it's moving up pretty nicely. I like this stock. And check to see if there's any news on this trade. All right, so there is news, of course, not related to COVID. Uh, GMPX shares trading higher after the company announced it received FDA fast track designation in combination. They're treating for non-small cell lung cancer. That's the news on it. Their drug that I can't really pronounce, but they're treating non-small cell lung cancer is the news on this. So. Cool. I like it. Good call. We'll hop over to the losers list right now, seeing if there's anything just as good, if not better. I'll tell you what, this APLT I could have put on the pre-market list at first, prior to 8 a.m. This thing looks like trash now, but it gapped down going into the pre-market. It made a nice, squeeze up. I caught this much later on as it was pulling back here. I didn't even call it out in the trading room at the time because I think at that point, the IMMX ended up taking our attention. So, I don't know. This thing's too flat right now, but it had a lot of interesting activity early in the pre-market. I don't know what the news is. Let's just check. It might be common stock offering or some sort of stuff. No. Actually, on the flip side, we were just talking about GMPX getting FDA fast track approval. Looks like the FDA ended up putting a hold on APLT's drug to treat rare metabolic disorder. So I don't know. It's just really flat right now. I'm not a fan of this. So I'm going to move on from this stock for right now. The news that came out, the big, dead cat bounce, that was pretty interesting early on. All right, let's see what else we got here, folks. I know that IMMX trade ended up completely popping, so I'm very happy to hear that. We'll jump back to that stock at the end. KPRX, familiar name from last week, not doing a whole lot, at least on the upside. What about NTRB from Mark? It's just a straight dart on the way down. Ended up making a really nice move Friday going into the morning, but it was trading really thin volume Friday too. So, this is where we can generalize and say what makes the top percent gainers list one day typically makes the percent losers list the following. So, hey, it's a familiar name. It's one that we did really well on from Friday, but the way this is moving so far, it only seems to me as if it's just going to keep dumping off. I wouldn't mind calling the stock out after the open mark once we happen to see maybe some sort of support look to build. But I feel like this is just going to completely come back down at first. Look at that pop. IMMX. Right once it broke back over that 580. That's all it took, folks. 580 was the big buying level that we had early in the pre-market. That's why I kept typing that number in the chat board to you folks. All right. Oh, really quick also on IMMX. I noticed this earlier. I also typed this in the chat board. This is all we got on the daily chart. This is a new IPO, I guess. So already breaking all-time highs. I think the previous high back from late December, 631. So obviously above that price right now. This looks really good. No historical resistance to work off of from the daily chart, at least as of now. All right, folks, I don't think I need your help here. I think that we're pretty much good to go at this point, but I will, of course, always ask. Let me know if there's anything up, down, left, right, more than 5% that I may have missed. I think that we touched upon them all. Wouldn't mind being wrong if there is one more that popped that I didn't look at just yet. Dickens in from 555 out at 657 right there on this IMMX trade live in Cyber Group. Excellent way to start off the new year there, Dickens. All right, folks, going once, going twice, going 3 times. And that is it. I think that we're pretty much good. Listen, if there is anything else that makes a big pop or perhaps even a big drop, going into the open, obviously we'll look to call it out inside the cyber group room at least. But I'll tell you, we have a good list to start. We have 6 stocks to work with. Not too big, not too small. I think the shoe just fits. All right, folks. So aside from that, again, if there is anything else, we'll look to work together as a team inside our live trading room and call it out when the time is right. All right. So for Sleepy Fishing Bear and for all of us on YouTube, for all of us on Facebook, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every morning, perhaps now. But otherwise, again, I'll be doing the morning meeting for Fausto, I believe, across this entire week. If you have any questions, you have a couple of options for all of us on social media. You could always send over a quick email. For all of us that don't join me in the afternoons at 2:30 Eastern time, I always like to post my email address at the end of the meetings that I do. So if you have any questions about our call outs, our watch lists, feel more than free to send a question right over to my email address, josh@ctutrading.com. Otherwise, if you wanted to continue the audio commentary in our live trading room, you could just go right down to the link on the banner below to get yourself started. All right, so for Michael, for Grant, for Mark, for Dickens, help a trade their Dickens, as well as Lawrence, Tony, Susan, Deborah, all of us live inside Cyber Group. Happy New Year! I look forward to this year coming up, folks. Not just in terms of prosperity, but more importantly, much more importantly nowadays, in terms of health. All right, so wishing everybody the best in health and the happiest of New Year's ahead. But again, we'll look to continue the audio broadcast here coming up in just about 15 or so minutes. Take care.